Rain hammered against the windows of the executive parking garage like 1,000 tiny fists, but Marcus Hale barely noticed. His mind was on numbers, quarterly losses, investor pressure, and the impossible deadline hanging over, Hale Motors like a storm cloud darker than the one outside. Then he saw it. Parked alone in the far corner, under a flickering yellow light, was a faded 1967 Ford Mustang. Its once deep blue paint had dulled with time, the hood scarred by scratches, the chrome worn thin by years of weather and work. One headlight sat slightly crooked, and the front bumper looked like it had survived more battles than most men. Marcus stopped walking. He stared at the car as if it were an insult placed deliberately in his path. "Whose junk is that?" he muttered. His assistant, Lauren, glanced over. "I think it belongs to one of the night staff. The janitor, maybe." Marcus let out a short laugh, sharp and cold. "That car is junk." The words bounced off the concrete walls. He didn't know someone had heard him. At the far end of the garage, bent over a mop bucket, Daniel Brooks froze. For a moment, he said nothing. He simply looked at the Mustang. Then he lowered his eyes and went back to work. Because Daniel had learned a long time ago that pride didn't pay bills. Every night, after the office floors emptied and the glass, towers of downtown Detroit glowed. Against the sky, Daniel came in with his mop, his cart, and the same quiet determination he carried through life. By day, he was a father. By night, he was invisible. His daughter, Lily, was 8 years old, all bright eyes and missing front teeth, with a laugh that somehow made their tiny apartment feel like a palace. To her, Daniel was everything. To the world, he was just the janitor. But what nobody in that building knew was that Daniel had once been one of the finest engine designers in the state. 15 years earlier, he had worked in research and development for a major automotive firm, the kind of engineer whose ideas filled conference rooms and patents. Then life changed in a single brutal month. His wife, Emma, got sick. The treatments drained their savings. The long hospital nights became longer. And when Emma passed away, Daniel left everything behind to raise Lily. The career, the ambition, the dreams. He took whatever work he could find. Cleaning floors paid the rent. Dreams could wait. Or so he told himself. That old Mustang had been Emma's favorite thing in the world. They had bought it together when they were barely more than kids. Back then it wasn't much either, just rust and potential. Daniel rebuilt it piece by piece in their garage, often with Emma sitting nearby, handing him tools and teasing him when grease smeared across his face. After she died, he couldn't bear to sell it, so he kept it alive the way he kept himself alive, one repaired part at a time. What Marcus Hale didn't know was that under that worn hood sat something extraordinary, not because it was expensive, because it was revolutionary. For years after Lily went to sleep, Daniel worked in the apartment's small garage space, surrounded by tools, coffee cups, and notebooks full of sketches. He had been building an engine, not just any engine, an ultra-efficient hybrid combustion electric design, capable of doubling fuel efficiency while cutting manufacturing costs in half. An engine that could transform the auto industry. But Daniel had never shown it to anyone. Who would listen to a janitor? The next morning, Hale Motors held its emergency board meeting. The company's newest luxury EV line had failed safety testing again. Investors were furious. The stock had dropped 12% in a week. Marcus stood at the head of the polished conference table, his jaw tight. "If we don't solve this within 30 days, we lose the international contract." Silence filled the room. Then one of the engineers spoke. "We've tried every redesign possible." Marcus slammed his hand on the table. "Then try harder." That night, Daniel was cleaning the same boardroom. On the table lay a stack of blueprints, forgotten in the rush. He glanced at them and stopped. Years of instinct kicked in immediately. The flaw was obvious. Not in the battery system, in the thermal control routing. A tiny oversight that would overheat under load. He hesitated, then pulled a notepad from his pocket and scribbled a quick solution. A revised airflow path, a smarter heat exchange loop. Simple, elegant. He left the note on the blueprint. The next morning, chaos erupted. "Who changed this?" Marcus demanded. The lead engineer looked stunned. I don't know. But, sir, this solves the failure point." Marcus narrowed his eyes. "Find out who wrote it." By evening, Lauren had the answer. It was Daniel. The janitor. Marcus blinked. "The janitor?" Yes. Marcus stared at her as if waiting for the punchline. Instead, she handed him Daniel's employee file. There, buried beneath years of custodial records, was an old resume. Master's degree in mechanical engineering. Former senior engine systems designer. Multiple dormant patents. Marcus sat back slowly. For the first time in a long time, he was curious. The next night, Marcus waited in the garage. Daniel arrived in his Mustang, the engine rumbling low and smooth. Marcus stepped forward. Daniel stiffened. If this is about parking here, I can move it. Marcus looked at the car, then at Daniel. No, I want to talk. Daniel said nothing. Marcus nodded toward the Mustang. Pop the hood. Daniel hesitated, then slowly opened it. Marcus leaned in. At first, he saw what looked like a standard restored classic. Then he noticed the custom housing, the precision welds, the hybrid conversion architecture, the impossible compactness of the system. His expression changed. What is this? Daniel's voice was quiet. Something I've been working on. Marcus stared. This is years ahead of what my engineers are building. Daniel gave a small, tired smile. I know. Marcus straightened. Why are you cleaning floors? The question hung in the air. Daniel looked down. Because my daughter needed a father more than the world needed another engineer. For the first time, Marcus had no reply. He had spent his life chasing success so relentlessly that he had forgotten what sacrifice looked like. The next day, Marcus asked Daniel to present the engine concept to the board. Daniel refused. I'm not interested in titles. Marcus frowned. What do you want? Daniel's answer came without hesitation. A fair chance. And enough to make sure Lily never has to wonder if the lights will stay on. Marcus nodded. You have my word. Within weeks, the prototype was tested. The results stunned everyone. Fuel efficiency doubled. Production costs dropped dramatically. Performance exceeded every competitor benchmark. News spread fast. Investors returned. The international contract was secured. Then came the bigger shock. A major acquisition deal from a global manufacturer valued the new engine platform at $2 billion. The board celebrated. Champagne flowed. Stock prices soared. But Daniel wasn't in the room. He was at Lily's school play, sitting in the front row as she nervously stepped onto the stage dressed as a sunflower. When she spotted him in the audience, her face lit up. That smile meant more to him than every zero in the deal. Later that night, there was a knock at his apartment door. Daniel opened it to find Marcus standing there, holding a small envelope. Marcus looked different. Less polished. More human. I owe you an apology. Daniel said nothing. Marcus exhaled slowly. When I laughed at your car, I thought I was looking at a piece of junk. His eyes moved toward the Mustang parked outside. I was wrong. He handed Daniel the envelope. Inside was a contract, a full partnership agreement, royalty rights, equity shares, and a signing bonus large enough to change his life forever. Daniel looked up. This is too much. No, Marcus said softly. It's what you earned. Daniel's eyes filled. For a moment, neither man spoke. Then Marcus said something unexpected. My father was a mechanic. Daniel looked surprised. Marcus gave a bitter smile. He spent his whole life under hoods and in repair shops. I was embarrassed by it when I was younger. I wanted suits, boardrooms, and skyscrapers. He glanced at the Mustang. I spent years running from where I came from. His voice dropped. Seeing you reminded me. The following months changed everything. Daniel became the lead innovation partner at Hale Motors. But he insisted on one condition: a scholarship fund for single parents pursuing technical education. Marcus agreed immediately. They named it the Emma Brooks Foundation. Applications poured in from across the country. Mothers working night shifts, fathers rebuilding their lives, people who had once been overlooked. People like Daniel. The story hit the news. The janitor who built a $2 billion engine. America fell in love with it. But what touched people most wasn't the money. It was the heart behind it. At the official product launch, reporters crowded the stage. Cameras flashed. Marcus stood at the podium. Then he stepped aside. Tonight, he said, this company's future belongs to the man who reminded us that greatness doesn't always wear a suit. Daniel walked forward. He looked out at the crowd, at the lights, at the faces waiting to hear from the man they had all underestimated. Then he spoke. People look at old things and broken things and assume they've lost their value. His eyes softened. But sometimes the things that look worn out are carrying the strongest hearts. He paused. I didn't build this engine because I wanted billions. I built it because my daughter believed I could do anything. In the front row, Lily beamed. And because the woman I loved once told me that even old engines deserve a second chance? There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Years later, the Mustang still sat in Daniel's garage. He never sold it, never replaced it, because to him it wasn't a car. It was memory, love, hope, a reminder that what the world calls junk may still hold a miracle under the hood. And every now and then, Marcus would stop by, run a hand over its faded blue paint, and smile. Because the day he laughed at that car was the day he almost missed the greatest gift of his life. Not the engine, not the billions. The lesson. That kindness sees value where arrogance sees ruin. That humanity matters more than status. And that sometimes the person mopping the floor is the one capable of rebuilding the future. On a quiet summer evening, Daniel and Lily took the Mustang for a drive down an open American highway, the sunset spilling gold across the windshield. Lily leaned her head against the seat and smiled. Mom would have loved this. Daniel looked at the road ahead, his heart full. She still does, sweetheart. And the old Mustang, once mocked as junk, carried them forward into a future built not by power, but by love.